Hi, my name is Wendy Myers. I'm a health and nutrition coach in Los Angeles, California. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about food sensitivities and how they make you sick and fat. I've did extensive research on this blog because I recently had discovered I was gluten sensitive and I wanted to get the word out to you how profoundly food sensitivities do affect you. As food sensitivities affect about 75% of the population, and so a common scenario is going to be where someone's sensitive to dairy or gluten, and they cause very, subtle symptoms like headache or fatigue, and people are usually constantly eating them day in and day out, so the connection's never really made. And people go to their doctors repeatedly to try to figure out what's wrong, like I did, because my stomach was always hurting, and mysteriously, and I thought I had stomach cancer, I had some horrible disease, and it turns out, and doctors never figured it out, but I figured it out. Turns out it was just a simple gluten sensitivity, and my stomach gets inflamed and hurts whenever I eat gluten. So no more biscuits for me. So a little bit about food sensitivities. They basically occur in the intestinal tract, not in the blood like a food allergy. So they're a little bit different. They have different pathways. And I'll tell you a little bit about some of the common food sensitivities that people have. A lot of people since the 1990s, genetically modified foods have caused a lot of sensitivities and allergies. Corn is another common one, gluten, dairy, soy, eggs, tree nuts like almonds and cashews and pistachios, nightshade vegetables, those are eggplants, peppers, tobacco, what else? Potatoes, not sweet potatoes, just white potatoes, regular potatoes. Any kind of, I think I already said peppers and tomatoes. It's a big one. A lot of people can be sensitive to those. Also, people can be sensitive to citrus and yeast, which yeast is found in a lot of things. Now, another reason that people become really sensitive to foods is if they're just eating the same food all the time. The cavemen in the past were evolutionarily designed like the cavemen. They ate a huge variety of foods. And so that's what our body's like. So if we're eating the same foods over and over and over, which is commonly the case with gluten, we are going to eventually become sensitive to those foods, or our bodies are going to reject those foods. Another cause is leaky gut syndrome, which can be pretty common when people don't have sufficient numbers of probiotics in their intestines, or their guts constantly inflamed from eating foods to which they're sensitive. Food particles, undigested proteins, and other bacteria can leak out of the gut and create even more food allergies and sensitivities. So it can be like a really vicious cycle. So it's really important actually first, before you address food sensitivities, is just to address the having a healthy gut flora in your intestines, because there's such a huge connection between your gut, your health, and illness. So be sure to address that and heal a leaky gut and colonize your intestines with proper probiotics prior to doing a food elimination diet, which I'm going to talk about in a second. You can also find more information about probiotics on my blog entitled Probiotics, the Foundation of Health. Another reason people have food sensitivities is their immune system is just overloaded. When a lot of people are really toxic, they've got full of overload of heavy metals and chemicals, and then their immune system is just wiped out. Their immune system is just going to be like overreactive and responding inappropriately to food sensitivities. So they have to take measures to calm that immune system down so that it can work properly. Another problem in food sensitivities is just genetics. A lot of times, many things like African American populations can be just definitely sensitive to gluten. That's very common. I'm sorry, not gluten. I mean dairy is very common. There's other populations that are sensitive to other foods. So genetics can play a factor in food sensitivities as well. So if, like, say your mother or your father were sensitive to gluten or had celiac disease, then you're going to very likely have the same problem. Now, some of the symptoms of food sensitivities are headache, fatigue, weight gain, bloating, gas, cramping. There's many symptoms that you can read about further down in the blog. One of the common symptoms is that a lot of people actually they don't feel until it's too late. It can be going on for decades prior to them figuring it out, is inflammation. What happens is when people eat foods to which they're sensitive, it irritates the gut lining and causes it to be inflamed. And this reduces the amount of nutrients which they can absorb, and it also just inflammation is the underlying cause of disease. So people can either get colon cancer or many other illnesses that are caused by this inflammation in their intestines. Now, another common symptom with food sensitivities is weight gain. What happens like I said before, when people eat a food to which they're sensitive, it causes inflammation in their colon, their intestines, and this inflammation automatically causes an increase in insulin. And insulin is the hormone which tells you to store fat. So anytime you have inflammation in your body from any cause, you can gain weight as a result. So many times find that when they get rid of food sensitivities like dairy or gluten or whatnot, that they actually lose weight and they lose that muffin top they were not able to lose, like that last 10 pounds. It's really stubborn. It can be as a result of food sensitivities. Another common problem with food sensitivities is pain. A lot of times people that have pain conditions, they have fibromyalgia or whatnot, a lot of times it can be contributed 75% of the time to nightshade vegetables that I talked about before, the tomatoes, peppers, potatoes, tobacco, and eggplant. And there's other nightshades as well, but those are the major ones. So definitely you want to look into eliminating nightshades if you have any kind of pain condition to see if that will resolve it. And like I said, food sensitivities can contribute to so many diseases. It's incredible the number of diseases whose symptoms can be reduced and completely eliminated just by getting rid of foods to which people are sensitive. So take a look down on my blog, the food sensitivities make you sick and fat, to find out the exact conditions to which they can be healed from getting rid of these foods. Now, if you want to find out which foods which are sensitive, there's a number of ways to go about it. One of the ways is to be tested for your IgG sensitivities and allergies. And this is a fantastic test. You can do it with immunolabs.com. However, there are weaknesses in the test. There are 12 different ways, which are pathways, which you can be sensitive to foods, but the IgG test only tests 2 of the ways. So the most effective test is the IgG4. So that's the test that you want to do. But again, it's not completely accurate, but it's a great starting point, because you want to, you want to do allergy testing as well. You want to get rid of all the foods to which you're allergic and get rid of any foods to which you're sensitive, ideally. Unfortunately, one of the best ways to get rid of a lot of health problems that you have is just to do a simple food elimination diet. And it's a little bit complicated, so you're going to have to, rather than me explaining it to you, you're just going to have to look in my blog for the exact directions on how to do that. But basically, you can start out with a simple one. You can just start out with stopping gluten for a month, and then you reintroduce it. You do a challenge to see if if your symptoms come back, the old symptoms like your headache and fatigue and weight gain come back, and then just see how you feel for a day or two after that. And if it's causing your symptoms to recur, hey, guess what? You're probably sensitive to that food. The most common food sensitivities are the dairy and gluten. So just try cutting those out for a month to 6 weeks, reintroduce, and see how that goes for you. If your symptoms are still not clearing, you're going to have to spend a lot of time, a few months, doing a full food elimination diet of all the top 10 food sensitivity foods. And that basically entails cutting out all of the foods, the eggs, the soy, and the this and that, for a period of about 2 weeks. Some say longer, some say it takes 20 to 60 days to get rid of all the sensitivities, all of the inflammation and other problems with those foods that are causing you. It can take 20 to 60 days to clear, and then you start reintroducing the food. So you just have to figure out what works for you exactly. But generally, people say stop them all for 2 weeks and then introduce one food at a time and see if you have symptoms, and keep a little food diary and keep note of any changes in your mood or your health, or if your symptoms return. And then if that doesn't work, there's other more extreme diets and methods that you can use that are beyond the scope of this blog. You can get some help with Sherry Rogers, MD. She has some wonderful books on that subject. So I hope that this is really, really helpful in helping you figure out why you're having all these vague symptoms and your doctor is really not able to help you with them, and all of your testing has come back negative. It's probably food sensitivities. So give the food elimination diet a try, and thank you so much.